The sun was just beginning to peek over the sleepy town, painting the sky in soft colors of pink and orange. It was a beautiful Sunday morning, but young Huckleberry Finn was not thinking about the sunrise. His heart was pounding in his chest like a drum. He had run all the way to the Welshman's house, a big, kind-looking home on a hill. He was scared, but he knew he had to do something brave. Huck walked up the path and knocked on the heavy wooden door. He wasn't used to knocking on doors. Usually, he slept in barrels and found his own food, but this morning was different. He had a very important secret to share. A secret about a dangerous plan he had overheard in the darkness of the night. The door opened, and the kind face of the Welshman looked down at him. The man was surprised to see the town's ragged boy on his doorstep so early. But he didn't turn Huck away. Instead, he smiled warmly and invited him inside. Huck stepped into the house, his bare feet soft on the clean wooden floor. It was so different from any place he had ever been. There were comfortable chairs, a warm fireplace, and the smell of breakfast cooking in the kitchen. For a boy who was used to being on his own, this simple act of kindness felt like a wonderful, warm hug. It made him feel safe, and it gave him the courage to speak. Huck sat down, and the Welshman and his sons listened carefully as he began his story. He told them about the dangerous men he had followed. He described their wicked plan to harm the kind widow Douglas. His voice was just a whisper at first, full of the fear he had felt hiding in the shadows. He explained how he had run to get help, his heart filled with a terror he had never known before. He had been a silent guardian in the night, a small hero that nobody knew about. The Welshman and his sons looked at Huck with new eyes, seeing not just a poor boy, but a brave one who had done a very good thing. After telling his tale, Huck had one very important request. He asked the Welshman not to tell anyone that it was he who had given the warning. Huck was afraid of the dangerous men and what they might do to him if they found out he had spoiled their plan. The Welshman understood completely. He looked at Huck with respect and promised to keep his secret safe. He assured the boy that his bravery would not be forgotten, even if it had to remain hidden for a while. Huck felt a great sense of relief. He had done the right thing, and now a kind person was promising to protect him. It was a new and comforting feeling for him. Later that morning, the church bells rang, calling everyone in the village to the Sunday service. The whole town gathered, dressed in their finest clothes. The church was filled with families sitting together in the wooden pews. The sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows, making colorful patterns on the floor. It was a peaceful scene, a time for quiet reflection and community. Mrs. Thatcher sat with her family, looking proud and happy. Judge Thatcher was there, too. Everyone was exchanging quiet greetings, unaware that something was wrong. The morning felt just like any other Sunday, calm and orderly, but that was about to change very quickly. As the service went on, people started to notice that two familiar faces were missing. Tom Sawyer was not in his usual spot next to his Aunt Polly, and Becky Thatcher was not sitting with her mother. At first, no one thought much of it. Perhaps the children were simply playing outside or had decided to skip church, as children sometimes do. Aunt Polly thought Tom was with the Thatchers, and Mrs. Thatcher believed Becky was spending the day with the Sawyers. They smiled at each other from across the aisle, each thinking the children were safe with the other family. The quiet hum of the service continued, but a small seed of worry had been planted. After the final hymn was sung and the service ended, the truth began to unfold. Aunt Polly walked over to Mrs. Thatcher, a friendly smile on her face. "Is Tom behaving himself over at your house?" she asked kindly. Mrs. Thatcher looked confused. "Why, he isn't with us," she replied. "I thought Becky was with you and Tom." In that moment, a wave of alarm washed over both women. Their smiles vanished, replaced by looks of pure panic. The color drained from their faces as they realized that neither of them knew where their children were. The peaceful Sunday morning was suddenly shattered by a terrible, frightening discovery. The news spread through the crowd like a wildfire. Whispers turned into anxious questions. "Have you seen Tom? Where is Becky?" The happy chatter of the after-church gathering stopped. A heavy silence fell over the town square as the reality of the situation set in. The children were not just late, they were missing. Parents clutched their own children a little tighter, their faces filled with concern. The entire community, which had been so calm just moments before, was now united in a shared feeling of dread. Tom and Becky were gone, and no one had any idea where they could be. The search had to begin immediately. The news about the missing children changed everything. The peaceful Sunday was gone, replaced by urgent action. The men of the village quickly formed search parties. They grabbed lanterns, ropes, and supplies, their faces set with determination. The Welshman and his sons, who had been heroes just the night before, joined the search without a second thought. Every able-bodied person wanted to help. The village, which was usually a collection of individual families, now became one big family, bound together by a common goal, to find Tom and Becky and bring them home safely. Their worry was a powerful force that moved them all to act as one. The search parties spread out in every direction, their voices calling out the children's names into the woods and fields. "Tom! Becky!" Their shouts echoed through the trees. They searched the riverbanks, looked in old abandoned shacks, and explored every path and trail around the town. The women of the village gathered to support one another. They brought food and hot coffee to the searchers, offering words of comfort and hope to Aunt Polly and Mrs. Thatcher. In this time of crisis, there were no strangers in the village. Everyone was a neighbor, and everyone shared the burden of the terrible uncertainty. It was a powerful display of community spirit. As the day turned into night, the search did not stop. The flickering lights of the lanterns could be seen moving through the darkness like fireflies. The entire village seemed to hold its breath, waiting for any news. Huck, who was supposed to be resting, heard the commotion from his hiding place. He felt a deep sense of worry for his friend Tom. He knew Tom was clever and full of adventure, but the woods and caves around the town could be dangerous. Huck wished he was strong enough to go out and help look for them, but he was still feeling weak and sick from the events of the previous night. The community's response showed the true heart of the small town. They did not give up hope. Even as the hours passed and no sign of the children was found, they continued their search with unwavering resolve. They knew that the longer the children were missing, the greater the danger they were in. The search became a vigil, a constant and hopeful effort against the growing darkness. The entire village was awake, watchful, and praying for the safe return of Tom and Becky. Their unity was a small light in a very dark and frightening time, proving that in times of trouble, they would always come together. While the whole town was out searching, Huckleberry Finn was not doing well. The stress and fear from the night before, combined with the cold, had made him very sick. He had a high fever and was shivering uncontrollably. He had found his way to the widow Douglas's house, the very person he had saved. When the widow found him, she did not hesitate. She immediately took him in, putting him in a soft, comfortable bed with clean sheets. For Huck, who was used to sleeping on hard ground or in empty barrels, the feeling of the soft mattress and warm blankets was like a dream. He was finally being cared for. The widow Douglas was a kind and gentle woman. She sat by Huck's bedside, placing cool cloths on his hot forehead. She brought him warm soup and made sure he was comfortable. Huck was not used to this kind of attention. No one had ever cared for him like this before. In his feverish state, he drifted in and out of sleep, hearing the distant shouts of the search parties. He was worried sick about Tom and Becky, but he was too weak to even get out of bed. The widow's kindness was a comfort, but the worry for his friends lingered in his mind, making his fever feel even worse. As Huck rested, the secret of his nighttime bravery was safe. The Welshman had kept his promise and had only told the widow Douglas that Huck was a hero. She looked at the sick boy in her care with a heart full of gratitude. This ragged, lonely child had saved her life, and now it was her turn to save his. She watched over him day and night, her gentle presence a constant source of comfort. Huck was in a safe place, protected not only from the dangerous men, but also from the illness that had taken hold of him. He was no longer just the town outcast. He was a guest of honor, a secret hero. Outside the quiet, sick room, the search for Tom and Becky continued with a desperate energy. The town had not slept. Every lantern was still lit, and every voice was still calling out into the night. The hope of finding them was starting to fade, but no one was willing to give up. Back in his warm bed, Huck could only listen and wait. He was caught between two worlds, the warmth and safety of the widow's home and the cold, frightening mystery of his missing friends. The entire village was holding on to a faint hope, a small prayer that the children would be found safe, and Huck, in his feverish dreams, prayed right along with them.